Hello everyone, today we're going to do another coil pot. In today's demo we're going to try to do something that is figurative. So last demo we did something where we allowed some of our coils to selectively be exposed, and this one we're going to go ahead and look at what if I made a coil pot that was based off of a figure, whether it be an animal or a human, and then I allow the shape of the vessel to inform the shape of the sculpture that I create. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's get started with some coils. So I've done a demo on how to make coils in another video, but I'll go ahead and walk through it real quick one more time. So what we do is we just roll these out just like a kindergartner would playing with Play-Doh, except for we're going to use a little more finesse. We're going to spread our fingers out slowly while we create these, and this will help get rid of little imperfections in the coil. As you can see, I'm a little rough on my coils. I could be more tender and spread my fingers out and make these really beautiful coils that are perfect, but I really found that there's no point in doing so. So maybe some ceramicist would argue with me. I'm not a ceramicist, I'm a sculptor. I like ceramics. I love working with the medium, but I don't consider myself a potter or a ceramicist, so let's go ahead and make a few coils. Okay, so once again, I don't want to get too thick with my coils. I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to do just like a 3D printer, and I'm going to put this in whatever shape I want. If I wanted to make a kind of a triangular pot, I could start laying my coils down in that shape, but I don't want to. I'm going to make something very round. I'm going to let this be inspired by the shape of a vessel, kind of like I was saying. So we could make a human figure and kind of make them very vessel shaped. You know, and you could think of like these traditional vessel shapes. So there are tons and tons to pick from, or you can kind of come up with your own thing here. The rubric for this is very loose, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to make an animal. So this is a vessel that a sculpture that I've actually done before. I made a whale out of this as a demo in the past. But I want to go ahead and get a video uploaded so you guys can access it whenever you want. And I also would like a companion to my whale. So maybe the other one could be a baby whale, and this can be the mama whale. So this one I'm going to join the coils on both sides. I told you could selectively keep coils wherever you like them. You could even decorate them. You could braid them and do all kinds of really interesting things. But we're gonna join these on both sides. And when I do that, I usually take and I'll mash down on the inside, or maybe up on the inside and down on the outside, or down on the outside and up on the inside, and I can kind of join the coils together really well, really fast, in a very expressive way. Now I can smooth it out and get just as pretty and smooth as I like, or I can keep the mark and the impression of my fingers in there. I like to do that. You see there are a lot of tools you can use to kind of speed your process up to really help you. I think I'm going to leave a little bit of this expressive texture, but not much. I want it to be a little more smooth than what I would normally make this. I love highly textured vessels, and I explain why in another video. But this is a sea creature. Maybe I'll make him kind of, you know, whales are kind of lumpy and bumpy sometimes. But this is kind of like I want it to look kind of like a cartoonish whale. So I will make him a little smoother than I normally would. But probably by a potter's perspective, or from their point of view, I'm probably still They probably think my work is very sloppy. Another thing I've seen a lot of ceramicists do is they'll put on each coil one at a time. So we can do that. I think that's probably the proper technique for it, but I like to pile them on and do them more than one at a time. It seems like I'm getting work done that way, but maybe I'm not. One thing I've begun to notice is that, I'm just going hog wild here, having a good time, and I didn't even consider how this thing's going to actually fit anywhere on a shelf and how big it's going to look compared to my other whale. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a segment out of here, kind of mock it up how big I want it to be. I think something like this will still be much bigger than my original whale that I made. So I'm going to say something about like that. I'll slip and score these together. All right, there's a couple problems you can run into at this stage. You might have noticed that maybe the way you join coils might cause your vessel to just grow bigger exponentially as it goes upward to where you're creating a gigantic funnel. That can happen. If that's the case, when you're making your coils, you can begin to start laying them inward some. So instead of putting them even, you can lay them inward. So the same technique we do to kind of make our pieces taper inward, you can do that. Now I'm getting to the point where I'm fixing to taper this thing off and end it regardless. So I will start beginning to taper these inward at some point very soon. But one thing I'm running into right now is that the coil vessel has gotten bigger than the clay will just about support. So it's starting to fold in on itself, get a little bizarre. So what I'll probably do is dry it out with the heat gun a little so that we can continue going. This is a lot of weight right here. So one thing I want you to notice is how I keep laying my coils more and more inward, and how I'm making sure to join them in such a way that they start to close in this gap. Now I'm going to finish closing in this gap with a paddle. I think I want my whale to kind of have a flat snout. That's how I made the other one. Very cartoonish. That's what we're looking for. We're going to have a big cartoonish snout coming out of this whale. And now we just want to turn this thing into a whale. So now we have this very interesting blob shape. What I want to do is select a location to carve out the mouth and then place in some eyes. Alright. So I'm just kind of making a little incision here to make a mouth. Looks pretty good. So now we have a rough mouth here. So the beginnings of our whale. Let's go ahead and put in an eye. Maybe something like this. So it starts to look more like a whale. That could be fun. Maybe a little eyeball like that. Correct his mouth a little now. There we go. Now we got a nice cartoon whale coming out of the water here. So one of the things I want my whale to have teeth. Or those things that you know, cartoon whales have that look like teeth. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to come around right on here on this edge here. I'm going to slice out a little layer of teeth. All right. Now that I've made my incision, I can go ahead and start teasing my teeth out of there. All right, let's just mock that up and look how it looks whenever we get it partially closed. Not bad, not bad. All right, we could take a lot of time making some very nice individual teeth here, but I think we'll just go with these little slits here to kind of mimic that whale look. And you kind of see what we're working with. I'll meddle around with this mouth a little bit, try to get it the way I want it, and then I'll prop something underneath it to let it dry a little. Maybe like a tub of sculpture epoxy. I do want to make sure that this thing remains slightly open so that we can see some of the details of the teeth. We want to show off what we've been working on here. So, whales don't have teeth, they have baleen, but we're going to represent it the way they do in cartoons. And, it's okay if they slightly look reminiscent of teeth, but we're not going to go in and carve out each tooth down to where it looks like it comes out of a gum. Number one, we want this to be kind of cartoonish. And I will go back, probably most likely, and show you how to do a mouth that looks more like a human mouth, okay? I'll do that in another demo. But right now, we got our very expressive coil whale. He looks a lot like an upside down vessel. That's because that's what he is. All right? We could have constructed this completely different. We could have built it just like a vessel and then come in and carved in this mouth. But I wanted to show you how to close in this thing with a paddle. I had to be very careful because I don't want to get rid of all my expressive stuff here, but a paddle's a great way to reshape a ceramic piece without completely destroying it or making it all wrinkly. And when this dries, I'll show you something else next class. So I'll probably leave this out. I'm coming back next class, so I'm coming back tomorrow. And so I'll be able to come back and show you the next stage. I'm probably not even going to put it in a bag. I'll just leave it out like this. That way it'll be nice and durable for what I show you next class. So our whale has had a little bit of time to dry overnight. Now we can go ahead and move this, and you see now the mouth stays where it was put. We can now take and kind of look at some certain things we want to maybe reshape and clean up. Give it a kind of a general look around it. I kind of like the shape of everything. I kind of like the way it does. One thing I want to do, I've been putting these little zigzag patterns around the eyes. So we kind of got that kind of going on, this almost floret design. I'm going to continue that with one of my star bits here. That might be a little fun touch. This is a little reservoir that'll catch some glaze there and let it pool up. All right, I think we're ready to move on to the next stage. Okay, So what I want to do, I want to show you one last little trick. I'm going to take this guy, turn him upside down. Ooh. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to poke holes all in the inside of this thing, just in case there's any air pockets. This is a sculpture, so it doesn't really matter what it looks like on the inside. It's not like I'm going to be pouring milk in here and cereal and then eating out of it and getting worried about bacteria getting trapped in these little holes. So right now, all I'm worried about doing is making sure there's a place for air to escape to. Let me join some of these coils here that I missed just for structural integrity. In reality, it probably doesn't matter. I think I'll also come directly here from the opposite side here and put in a blowhole. Whales have to have a blowhole, right? So there we go. Now we got a blowhole for our whale. So here I am just poking holes all in this silly thing. That way, if I have an air pocket in there and it starts to expand at a different rate than the clay, there'll be a little outlet for it to come out of. All right, so now it is ready for the kiln. That is it for this demo. We made us a nice little figurative coil sculpture of a big lumpy bumpy bulbous whale. And maybe I'll make a part 2 to this video whenever we get ready to glaze it and fire it. All right, until next time, guys.